Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of July 8th, 2013. Welcome to the site to you new members, and welcome back to the old. The Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer it. So please send your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There is no such thing as a stupid question, and it is the best way to get the most out of the site. Seriously, thank you to all the people who, inspired by my pleas over the past couple of weeks, sending in new Ask Videomail questions. I appreciate it so much. I can always use more, though. That doesn't mean that we can let up. Please continue sending in those questions because it is how I drive the content on this site, and only this site. A unique experience for animators in the world, I would say. I hope so. I hope you agree. Do you agree? Good. Makes my feelings. Gives me good feelings about that. So this week is week 7 out of 8 for collabs. So yes, only 2 weeks left, and we're having a blast. I cannot wait to show you what we've come up with. If you are in the LA area, please join the LA area Character Animators Meetup group. It is run by Brooke. She's awesome, and just find that meetup group, and we are going to be having a wrap party next week on Friday at 8 p.m. here at Arconics, where we will be showing a sneak peek of what we've created. I think you're going to love it. I know you're going to love it. Forget that. You're definitely going to love it. So this weekend I went to I met with a friend who's getting married, and in Vegas, and I ran into a couple people who were KennyRoy.com members, and it was really good to get some feedback in person on the site. I don't actually get to interact too much with people. I was telling them that I get feedback in the form of Ask Videomail questions sometimes, and other types of feedback, but I really don't get a huge amount of concerted feedback on the site, and it was really good to talk about what they thought. One thing that this person suggested, and it's going to be the demo reel. I just gave it away. Dang it! Is going to be the topic today. Is a demo reel review, and he said that I haven't critiqued anybody's work, and I'm like, no, yeah, I have. And then I look back just now in the archive, and I've talked about some specific shots, but I haven't actually gone front to back and critiqued the work. I told him, you know what, it's kind of difficult because not everybody wants to sit through looking at somebody else's work. But then he retorted that, yeah, but we don't get the opportunity really to see what other people, professionals or whatever, are looking for. So I agree, actually. You know, a great idea. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a demo reel review. It was sent in by Jeff Rappis, and he's been a great member of ours for a long time, and so I'm very happy to do this demo reel review for him and in front of you. And so I guess that's it. Let's jump in and start talking about it, and take particular note of the kinds of things I'm looking for, and I'll try, if I can, to make it so that you get a little bit like inside the mind of a recruiter or a supervisor, or whoever is planning on hiring. Okay, in the form of what this feedback will be in the form of is like saying, like, not just why you would want to do this, but what I see when I see this problem or this good thing. I'll point out the good things as well. Okay, so cool. Let's take a look, and let's just get it on. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Here's the reel. I actually started on the first frame because I'm not sure if Jeff wants his phone number and address posted on my site. So I just I trimmed it off, but it basically had a title card with his name, nothing fancy, and that's the first thing I want to point out is great. It had his name, his email, phone number, address not necessary, actually. If you put that on your cover letter or resume, then that's fine. but dress totally not necessary. And then if you want to date it, that's good too, because it will show that you've updated the reel recently for their viewing pleasure. You can just put like reel 2013 or whatever. But that was good, and it was up there I think for a good 3 seconds, and then just straight into the demo reel. So that was really good to start off. But let's watch it all the way through, and I'll start collecting my thoughts as to what would be good to work on.
Now when men get to fighting, it happens here, and it finishes here. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
Ever since I started working, every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it. So that means that every single day that you see me, that's on the worst day of my life.
Okay. And then a real breakdown. Okay, so this is not a breakdown, by the way. This is basically just like a rights or a licenses page. A breakdown is when you say what you did in a shot. Okay, so a breakdown would have like, you know, shot 1 from Universal Pictures King Kong and responsible for all animation. Shot 2, you know, Fox Pictures Garfield, responsible for Garfield animation and boxes, whatever. And no, so you go through your shot, and you go through all your shots, and you just say what you've done. You don't need a breakdown for a demo reel that has all personal projects. You can just say on the beginning title, responsible for all animation. Okay, they ask for a breakdown. Sometimes studios ask for a breakdown because when you're professional, you need to point out what you did in a shot, because a lot of times one person doesn't do everything in a shot. A lot of times you'll do like the main character, and then there'll be dynamics and simulations and whatever, and well, rendering and lighting and whatever. But if you did everything in a shot, you're good to go. Okay. So, but at the very end, just don't call this breakdown. Just say. You could just take off the title and just say stand rig provided by men fighting, bishop rig provided by blah blah blah. Okay. But don't call it a breakdown. And this is good to do. This is classy, right? You want to look classy, so go ahead and do that. And then there was, after this, I cut it off now so that there wouldn't be, you know, Jeff's, you know, email and address everywhere. But there was the same title card at the beginning. It was here at the end. So that's great too. All right. Jeff told me that this is actually ordered in most recent to oldest, and that's a fine way to do it. I really don't think. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about this topic. I think Sean Kelly's demo reel lecture, or that was on the blog, had something to do with you know the magic order of shots. But really, most recent to oldest is fine. And then as you add something, something gets cut off on the end. It's a great length. A minute is fine. A minute is great. I think that it probably needs to be above 30 seconds, just because, I used to say not, but I think just because of the number of people that are graduating and putting together reels, you know, just I think that average amount of time is going up, but it's got to be a minute of good animation. So, so I would say, you know, somewhere around a minute is good. 2 minutes is pushing it. No, absolutely no longer than 2 minutes. Absolutely no longer than 2 minutes. Okay, is what I would say. But really, actually, there could be a short reel is fine. So this length is fine. I always say, let me start off by saying that what you need in your demo reel is three things. You need variety in motion, clear, confident acting choices, and mastery of technique. Now those first two really come down to your choices for your shots, all right? And the third one is just how much practice, how much time you've had to do them, okay? So if I don't see, this is here, maybe here's the first thing that you're going to hear from me that has, you know, almost nothing to do with what you might imagine is going through the head of like a recruiter. If I don't see or feel a consistent workflow going on in the shots, then I'm highly suspicious of what I'm seeing. So let me like kind of like describe what I'm looking for. If I see, like for instance, I know about how the curriculum works at Animation Mentor. So when I see a Bishop rig doing that first monologue shot, I look at the lips very, very closely. Not because what I'm trying to do is look for the kind of mistakes that a beginner is going to make, because I'm going to be looking for workflow. And if there are really strong body language poses chosen for the subtext of the scene, then the animator won't be relying so much on the lips to do the work. Whereas beginners, they get a new toy and that's all they want to play with. So I've had students who, once they finally get a lip sync rig, they animate the entire lip sync while the character is standing in T-pose. And they're like, well, I mean, the lip sync is going to be the same no matter what, so you just go ahead and do it. There's no reason not to slam it in, right? Wrong, you know? So I look very closely for workflow, all right? And if there's not workflow, I'm highly suspicious. What am I suspicious of? How long it took all of these shots to do, all right? Because if I don't feel a process that is getting better and better and better with each shot, okay, well, I guess it should be getting worse and worse and worse. But it should be getting worse in such a way as I go into the demo reel and go backwards in time that is like looks like a logical, really linear progression of effort, you know, improving the work, okay? And if I don't see that, then what's weird is if I see a shot that's more recent and it's worse than a shot that was older, it means that this person is having a little bit of a workflow problem. Okay, so let's start going through shot by shot, and I'll point out some things that are jumping out at me. Okay. Okay. Immediately, what I would say is that the idea of this shot needs a little bit of clarification. Okay, just the idea, because what the idea seems to be is that he hears something, and I guess he's like a gorilla because he's got all these bananas on the ground here. The idea seems to be that he hears something and is searching to kind of see what he's heard. Okay, not listening closely for the same sound again, but looking for what he's heard. Okay, and there's a big difference. Okay, so he hears something, right? Because his attention is away, and he doesn't. And when he looks up further, he looks past this point, right? So it's not something standing right there that he sees, you know, out of the corner of his eye while he's looking down. It's something he hears, okay? But then my worry is that he's not trying to hear it again. He's trying to see it, all right? And why I believe that is a little bit of an unclear choice is because he looks like he's like dropping his senses. So if I heard something, I would be a lot more kind of waiting for it to hear it again, more than I would be doing these kind of staccato head darts, making it look like I don't know where it came from. Okay, that would be my choice. Okay, so I would make those a lot more kind of craning and trying to hear it again, and then deciding what direction it's in with that one head dart at the end, but not all of these head darts that are kind of giving away the farm and not building up, kind of a story of what's going on for him. He's framed decently, and the pose is fine. I would say though that this first head up movement right now, because his body is moving just forward, you're not really getting much for all this work. See how the pose, like, because we're looking straight at him, the pose is just like kind of this awkward line through his chest, changing shape. That's all we're getting because we're totally foreshortened right now. Okay, and we're staring down the pipe that is his neck, and we're also not getting much pose in there as well. So the pose is fine. It could be better. Let's not settle on fine. Okay. Okay. Then when he gets up, we have the same thing. That we're staring right down at him, and really what I'm meant to believe is that it's his arms that are pushing him off, right? Because I'm not reading any of his body movements because they're all happening straight towards us. So if his back is actually leaning forward towards us, if we're getting a little bit of wind up, a little bit of anticipation in that spine, I'm not seeing it because we're all foreshortened. That means that it's just the arms, and I wouldn't have that screen right arm max out and then lift up so quickly. All right, it's almost as if you're trying to get them into a pose where you can show this big overlap right here, rather than actually showing that the arms are pushing off, because they're coming up so fast. Those arms need to be pushing off, all the way to the fingertips, and keep them behind him. I would say much longer to show that. Okay, if you watch it through my eyes right now, it almost looks like he like farts and pops up off of it. There's very little motivating this movement. You see that? Almost floats up, okay? This is very cinematic, and this is very, I feel like this is very, this is a lot like film work to have an action so close to camera, like finish right in frame like this. This is very filmic. And you've done a great job framing this and staging this, okay? I might say that the posing through here, especially with that pinching in his upper back, whatever you want to call that, I'm not even sure what part it's where the neck is supposed to be on a character. But just watch out for like pinching, that like, it's just like so apparent in here that the weighting and the way the guy is like put together is having a huge problem in these upward arm poses. And these are really hard poses to get anyway. So what you could do to show to a recruiter, if that you can handle this kind of character, is to try to keep it a little bit more, appealing shapes in the body throughout, even during those kinds of actions. On Kong, we had huge problems with shoulders in upward poses. Huge problems. So it happens even on the feature level. So you can prove a lot by handling it a little bit better. Feet poses are a little awkward on this frame, but again, it's very filmic and very nice. I really don't like an arm coming down perfectly straight and like contacting. Look, this is, you need to watch the contact lecture again, because there should be no frame where you don't have a pose change and the arm is placed perfectly on the ground. This is the lightest contact that you can possibly have, is a frame right here, and then a frame with the arm is in the exact same pose and it's placed perfectly on the ground. And I can tell it is because the fist doesn't move. Okay? You need to go from this frame to this frame, right? So it's on the ground and there's a pose change, all right? And then you do the same thing on the other side. Look, see, it's totally straight. Boop, clicks in, and basically slows into that contact, okay? So cut this frame out. Goes from here to here, all right? That's the short version of the contact lecture, not the long version. And the end finishes out really great.
Now when...
Yeah. This is the shot that I was talking about a little bit earlier when I said that I look really closely at lip sync. You have to have a lip sync workflow. You have to. You can't just go through, and whatever you do, I know AM students have a pose library. I'm not sure if the other rigs come with them, but under no circumstances should you ever use a pose library for lip sync, ever. It's okay to do it if like there's like an action that requires their face to be in a certain pose, like ooh, like that. That's not really lip sync, but like if they're freaking out at something like ooh, then you can dial it in just at the beginning of your shot, and you're not using it for animation. But what I find is people, I'm not saying this is, because I can't really tell the workflow from looking at this, but what a lot of people do is they get this big like 150 pose library, and they're like, okay, the word is, you know, pepperoni, so let's start with the P, click, go forward a few frames, E, click, well, back to P, click. And that's not how our lips actually move at all. It bears no resemblance to how we actually move our mouths, okay? So I'm looking at the lip sync on this one, and it's weak. It needs a stronger workflow. So I wouldn't show this shot until the lip sync is a lot stronger, okay? The other thing is that you got to know your model, and you know where he looks, you know, a little bit weird. I kind of feel like he has a little bit of a problem. Bishop has always had this problem. Let me change my color to yellow. Bishop has always had this problem where the eyebrows kind of cover up the eyelids, and you don't really want that. So it's happening right here. Also, I really have always disliked like the, you know, the seagull shape that Bishop gets between his eyes, okay? So rather than that, what you need to do is just take that middle controller, move it up a little bit, and then what that will do is make it so that you have, you know, your eyebrow coming down and then just a little bit of furrow and then the other one. So I much prefer the W shape that you can get with Bishop. Don't break it, of course, rather than that single shape, okay? I think that's a little bit more on model for Bishop. But what I was going to say though is this, is that the choice of having him look basically up the entire time is making it so that the audience is not getting the connection of like who this character is talking to and why he's doing that. So this is not quite, I think you're having a clarity issue, okay? I think you're having an issue not with the strength or the confidence, because you obviously animate straightforward with confidence. I think you're having a clarity issue. I don't know when I watch this guy talking if he's talking to an audience, if there's actually people in this arena, or if it's empty and he's just kind of, you know, performing, you know, saying this out loud to himself. And it's not because I don't see people. It's not that shallow a reason. It's because the way that you engage a crowd with your eyes, especially if, you know, they're above you, is not entirely with your eyes up the whole time. His head is down, but his eyes are up. And there's very, very few times, I've only seen this a few times, this shot, but from what I can remember, and we'll play it again right now, but from what I can remember, there's very few times where he actually like talks about, you know, this place and how it works, and then kind of takes the audience and then like shows them and engages them and tells them like how amazing this whole thing is, and then brings them back to the wonder that is this place that has all of these memories built into it, and how important this place is for us, for all of us. You know, I'm getting excited now, and I'm inventing the line, but that's kind of the subtext that I'm looking for. I'm dying for when I hear this. He's so proud, and he reveres this arena, and you can tell from the audio that that's the case for this guy. But I do not get that from the performance where he's basically eyes up, like head kind of forward, but eyes up the whole time. it almost looks like he's like looking at the clouds more than like an audience. Okay.
Now when men get to fighting, it happens here, and it finishes here. Two men enter, one man leaves.
Yeah, actually, he doesn't look down at all. Okay. Now when men get to fighting, it happens here, and it finishes here. Two men enter, one man leaves. Just a thought, just a way, an alternate. Okay, but so yeah, I take another look at that shot. All right. This is very cute. I love a good quad walk. You got it right. The lateral walk with the back foot and then front foot, and it alternates either side. They don't cross over. You need to be careful with a creature that doesn't have irises, because you really have to telegraph those head darts. Okay. And you do a little bit too much, if you ask me, a little bit too much movement with the chest and head together, and it's not making his, it's making it so you don't have nice, snappy head darts that really show eye direction. Okay, so it swims around a little bit in this whole section, and I don't really know where he's looking or when. Really, that would be the major thing I would work on with this, is to make it a little bit, again, clearer where those where the eye direction is. Okay, and then there's a few places like right here where you see the back is completely static. With such a dynamic character, especially because he has a slinky for a belly, you never want any moments where it's not moving at all, like that. Okay, you got to take all those moments out. This dancing is pretty strong. This is great, where he walks and does these little arm movements. That's great, because it's really like a character walk that's charged with a rhythm. Okay, I would definitely have music though. That would be my rule. If you have a character dancing, you've got to have the music. You have to. It's just a little bit awkward to watch without it. All right, but it kind of takes a little bit of a turn for the worse when he stands here, because this just looks like clockwork. It doesn't really look like a motivated dance move. It just looks like clockwork. And what I mean by that is, I talk about that in the dance lecture, which is that, a lot of people, they have like a song, and it's 120 beats per minute. Okay, perfect. Well, that means that like every single beat happens. Oh crap. I used to be able to do this off the top of my head. So I think it's like 16 frames, right? So 16 frames, that's every single beat, right? 120 beats per minute. So actually, it would probably be a little bit too slow. Whatever it is. So, but then this is what they do though. They're like, okay, it's every 16 frames. So I'm going to move the hips every 16 frames. It's going to go in a circle. I'm going to move the hands every single 16 frames, and it goes in a circle. But I'm going to nod my head every 8 frames. Okay, so it's twice as fast on the head as it is the hands, right? And then I'm going to, like, so that'd be 16 frames, so every 32 frames, right, I go from the left side to the right side, right? So then they get this. I can't do it with my head, right? And then they think they've made a dance. But what all you've done is you've just taken like a metronome, and you've set up a machine that basically just like records time. And that's not what dance is at all. Ask any dancer, that's not what dance is. It's expressive, and it's motivated. It's very motivated. Okay? It's motivated by something greater than the passage of time. Okay? So this is a little bit clockwork. When you get to the side here and you kind of just like repeat this, it doesn't look like a dance move. It looks like actually like, okay, 16 frames, and then you go back to something else. Okay? And then you go back to the character walk, which is great. Okay? So I would just take that out. Just take that weird kind of clockwork out, or make it a real dance move. Like really center it in the hips and like pop it, and then, like get the whole body involved a lot more in that if you wanted to. All right.
Ever since I started working, Every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it.
The thing that you could really improve here, we're getting a little bit back into the reaches of your demo reel. We're getting a little bit far back, which means that these are shots that sometimes, maybe not this one, but at a certain point, it's just not a good idea to edit the animation anymore because it was started by a completely different animator than you are right now. And cleaning up someone else's work is no fun. I mean, I know it sounds weird, but it is somebody else's work right now, by the time you get to the point where you're at. I mean, the difference between the animation here and this thing is like night and day, okay? But anyway, what I would improve with this is that you've given yourself a really good opportunity to do some great secondary action with that cup that's there. But you kind of squander it because all he's doing is sort of, the meaningless kind of like first level idea of like, kind of like the floppy wristed gestures. Whereas if you have like a cup in front of you, he can be touching it and he can be adjusting it and he can be about to take a sip and then he doesn't. All these amazing secondary actions that you have at your fingertips, and all he really ever gets done is just kind of like, flop his wrists around. Meanwhile, the coffee's getting cold, okay? So, I would consider maybe thinking about how to reblock this in an efficient way, or maybe take it out, okay? Because we're looking for, especially on the film level, the name of the game is being able to realistically deliver dialogue, and we are never not doing something, okay? We're hardly ever sitting there, especially if we have something in front of us, we're never sitting there and just kind of like flopping our wrist and coming back to it, and then describing something and then coming back to it, just the exact same way, okay?
Every single day of my life has been worse than...
And in looking at that, I mean, he goes so low, he almost dips his chin in the coffee. Look at this.
Every single day of my life has been worse.
You know what I mean? Like at least the realism. Maybe this is more detailed and more realistic, but even the realism of how close you would ever even just like get your face to a hot cup of coffee, it is not in the shot.
Been worse than the day before it. So that means that every...
and I like when I said maybe takes a sip, when he says worse than, there's a pause there. It's a perfect amount of time for him, for that pause for him to be about to raise it, but then he realizes then the day before it, and then he puts it back down. Listen to that again. See if you can hear that.
Worse than the day before it.
And it's almost like a realization. You have that in the eyes, those eyes going down, but it's so much more powerful to do it like with the body. So if you, then the day before it, that just kind of like that sinking and the depression setting in the full body, rather than just the eyes. The eyes are still doing it. The eyes are doing the exact same thing you still have them doing, but put it in the body, it's like multiplied by 10, at least 20, 5.
Every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it. So that means that every single day that you see me, that's on the worst day of my life.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, I hope you get something out of this. I really appreciate you sending this into me and asking for my ideas. And if anyone else thinks that they'd like to have a shot taken a look at, I'm not going to do too many of these. I do understand. Well, this one's gotten pretty darn long. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's a long video mail. But regardless, if you do want to have a shot critiqued or so, every once in a while, maybe every couple months, I'll pull one out. So you can also add that to the list of things that you can send me for an Ask Video Mail. You can send me your questions on character animation or performance. You can send me your Maya file if you're having a problem with a shot, technical or artistic. I love to see those. And you can send me your demo reel, and maybe I'll get one out every once in a while. All right, I won't do it too often, but it would be great if I could get all 3 of those things from you guys. Please take advantage of it. I'm here for you, so load me up, all right? The address to send those things, all of those, is webmaster@kennyroy.com. I look forward to seeing more stuff from you guys and giving you more stuff. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.